Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on why they like being a part of Flagler County. So today I'm super excited to have my guest, Mr. Jeff, with us today. Jeff, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
honored to
Well,
be here.
oh, well, I'm so glad that you're here because, in a clutch, you don't want to call a hack, you want to call Mac.
That's
So
right.
I'll let you explain it as a little bit later what that means. But I think it's super cool at our local BNI, which Jeff and I have met through there, is a lot of people have their own little catchphrases and little sayings. And I think I was talking to Laura Figgett forever ago, and she's like, "Yeah, I came up with like half of them." And I was like, "That's so cool. I don't know anything that I
She
can
didn't come
come
up
up
with
with."
mine. I came up with
Okay,
mine.
yeah, you can, yeah.
I take credit for mine. But Laura's
As you
very good at
should.
that stuff.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
She is. Well, so Jeff, why don't we kind of start off a little bit simple? I would love for you to talk just a little bit about you coming to Palm Coast and how has it been, coming to the Flagler area?
Yeah, so my family's originally from Florida. We're from the west coast of Florida. But my wife and I and our family, we were living a little north of here, in the St. Augustine area, and she wanted to be closer to where she's from, which is down in this area.
Hmm.
And so we moved here about 7 years ago. And yeah, so we love it here. So we live like right on the Lucia Flagler border area. So
Nice.
we like that area, and but yeah, I do most of my business in Palm Coast. So most of my counterparts, as far as real estate agents and insurance agents, people like that, they're all in Palm Coast. So I'm very into the Palm Coast community.
Yeah, that's cool. So you've kind of lived across the floor of Florida, the state, a little bit. Is there anything that you like about Palm Coast that you maybe didn't get on the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I surf, so we don't have waves on the West Coast. That's my first answer is that I love the waves on the East Coast of Florida. We don't really get waves on the West Coast, so
Nice.
um, but it's just more of a laid back vibe over
Hmm.
here. I feel like it's a little more fast paced in the Tampa area and all the western the cities in the West Coast. So so I just like the vibe here. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who lives near the college campus in Tampa, and anytime I'm
Okay.
there, it's crazy traffic.
Chaos.
That's all I'll
Yeah.
say. It's like I'm only there for the
Yeah.
weekend and I'm like
Yeah.
I am leaving. I will see you
Yeah.
later. Like I'll be back, but in a little bit because this drive I don't drive that much there, but it's like it's crazy. Um
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy over here too, but it's not as bad as over there
Different
right now.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Different
I think
crazy.
different crazy is a good way to put it.
Yeah. It
So
takes
I'm
forever to get anywhere over there. Like it's like if you
yeah.
want to go from one place to another, like just plan on it taking at least a half an hour at minimum, and so that's just
Yeah.
part of
Also,
the
they have a
yeah.
lot more, I think they have a lot more parking problems too. In
Yeah.
Tampa, it seems sometimes it's a little bit harder to find parking. Even like,
Yeah.
well, she lives next to a college campus, so it's just always,
Yeah.
crazy with college kids.
Yeah.
But like the parking lots feel smaller, I think, but maybe that's just my personal. Where I came from up north, we had really big parking lots, like all the way up in Michigan. We had a lot of parking space all the time, unless you're like downtown,
Yeah.
downtown. So I'm just not used to, in general, smaller parking lots.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think Florida's dealing with a massive growth issue, right? Like a good
Yes.
problem, I guess. So massive
Yeah.
growth. So it's like it just can't keep up.
Yeah.
It's part of
That'll
the issue.
it'll be fun to keep witnessing and see what's going on and how they're gonna
Yeah.
pivot around that. But I'd love for you to talk a little bit about Mac Atlantic. So number one, it's your company, your business. I'd love for you to
Yeah.
talk about what inspired you to go into business yourself.
Yeah, so before Mac Atlantic, I actually had Mac Atlantic construction. And so I was doing custom home building. I've been in construction for about 20 years. I am a licensed residential contractor in the state of Florida. And I have a bachelor's degree in building construction from the University of North Florida. I've probably built, I don't know, if I had to guess, maybe 300 homes. I'm not even really sure. I built a lot of houses. Um, so it was kind of an easy transition. And I did the transition because um, construction with COVID and everything, it was really getting difficult to build a custom home. And when I say a custom home, I'm talking about like like in the $1 million plus range. So it
Mm.
just became very, very difficult. It's hard to find skilled labor. Um, it's still possible to find all those things, but it's just such a grind now, and I wasn't enjoying it anymore. But I had all this construction knowledge and all this experience, and I thought, well, how can I still put that to good use? And a buddy of mine in the industry was like, well, why don't you do home inspections? There's a lot of home inspectors out there that just don't know anything about construction. A lot of people don't know this, but you can sit for basically 120 hours and poof, the state hereby deems you a home inspector after you pass the test. And you don't have to have any prior experience or
Mm.
knowledge or anything. So, I mean, that part's cool, but at the same time, when you're about to make as a home buyer, you're about to make the biggest investment of your life. Um, you want to just trust some guy that was selling shoes 120 hours ago. I mean, like, so this is why I use the tagline, don't call a hack, call the Mac, because
Mm.
um, there's so many hacks out there that are home inspectors or call themselves home inspectors, but they don't even know the first thing about building a home. And I feel like that's just such an important element to the job. You
Right.
really need to know how these things are put together.
Yeah.
Um, and not just know how they're put together by reading a book, but like actually have witnessed, been there at 6 o'clock in the morning when a slab is being poured, and the pump truck breaks down, and now you have the concrete has a 90-minute time on the in the truck, and if it's not, you have to send all the concrete back and you pay for it, and all those little things,
Yeah.
just all those little things play into your experience of knowing all the nuances about putting a home together. So you know, that's
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Definitely. I mean,
So
it's
that's why I
re
got into it.
yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah,
I that totally makes sense. I guess I never really thought of that. Of course, you don't if it's not your field, you don't really think about those things. But that would make
yeah,
sense. It's so interesting that there are so many home inspectors that don't have a construction background. And
yeah,
obviously, like I can't force anyone to have some type of background. But like you
yeah,
said, it's so different to read it on a textbook versus doing it. Like for
yeah,
example, I used to be a figure skater for like 15 years. So I can look at figure skating and I know what's going on. I know the technique they're using. I know why they're landing that way. I know why they're not landing that way.
yeah.
So I know all the physics behind it and all that good stuff. And it's something because I was in there. I was doing
Right,
it. I was the one
right.
spinning in the air. I was the one falling on my face. Um,
But here's
I
a great
can.
question,
Mhm.
Macy. Would somebody else rather have you judge the next figure skating contest, or me, who sat there and said, well, I've watched the Winter Olympics six
Yeah,
times. I've watched
that's
figure skating. I can
right.
judge it.
Yeah. And it's
Would you rather have a
especially
figure skater?
yeah, exactly. And also, like, we do have textbooks, but you read those books and you have no idea what's going on. Like, I
Yeah.
remember I had taken a little hiatus. I had gotten a concussion. So then I came back a month later and I was like going through the manual, like trying to refresh my mind. I'm like, I have no idea what this is telling me. What does this mean to me? This doesn't mean anything. But then my coach, who's a figure skater for years, who's been coaching for years, she's taught me. She's like, oh, it's just this, this, this. Oh, I can do that. And
Yeah.
it's only because I had that experience of like when they're telling me these words rapid fire, I know what's going on. I know the
Yeah.
basics. I know like, okay, if I have to do this, it means I have to start this way, which is I assume is the exact same way of how you look at construction when you go into
Sure.
homes and inspect them. It's like, okay, I know the what exactly how they built it up, why they're using these material. This is why it's good for you. This is why it's bad because you were there, you have done it, and you've seen other people do it like that.
Yeah. 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 One of the questions that I have a hard time, like I know how to answer it, but like when people ask me, hey, I would love to learn what you do. Can I just shadow you one day? And I'm like, oh, because it's it's hard for me to like teach you the 20 years of stuff that's in my head
Right.
while walking a house and then get out of there by the time I need to go have dinner with my family. It's like there's just so much to tell you. And so, just I can just look at a house and walk into it and be looking at the corners of the walls, looking at
Hmm.
there's just telltale signs. The house will tell you a story. And
Mm.
if you know what you're looking at, you can easily read the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I really like that framing. That's really poetic.
Yeah.
But I think what you said is also really important because there's also like with your experience 20 plus years, now you can go into places you just know what's going on. There's just so much subconscious stuff too. There's like half of it's not even conscious anymore. You just know. And so
That's
when
right.
someone's like, explain it to me, you're like, I don't know what you
Yeah.
know and what I know. Like I don't know where that gap starts and ends. And
Yeah.
like I don't want to talk down on you, but I genuinely don't know how to explain this because it's so subconscious that there's so much
Yeah.
going into it that I just naturally look out for these things. I can't tell you
Yeah.
if you don't naturally look out.
It's true. I got to the point where I asked people, I'm like, could you just show up like the last 30 minutes of my inspection? They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, just I'll walk you through what I see, but it's easier for me to tell people my observations after I've walked the home
Hmm.
than it is to like walk with them behind my back, watching every little
Mm,
thing I do,
yes.
because some of it just looks like I'm just walking through and looking, and that's all I'm doing. But I'm actually analyzing every nook and cranny of the house.
Yeah. And especially
So,
if we go back to kind of what you were saying about like every house tells a story, you
mhm,
can't
yeah,
explain word by word to people. You have to give them the whole paragraph, the whole page, the whole story.
yeah,
It's not going to make sense if you're like, yeah, and like you're skipping around like, for say chapters or words. It's not going to make sense to anyone who's not you.
yeah, yeah,
um, so
true.
this is really cool to hear how your framing works for it. Obviously I had never thought about that, but that makes total sense. The more you tell me, the more that just makes sense to me when I apply it to other parts that I'm like an expert in or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
you've been in flag there for a few years now. I mean, 7 years is like I'd say a decent amount of time.
Mhm.
Was there anything that you'd recommend for us newbies? Maybe places we can go, events like we can go to, or any groups or communities that you'd recommend us to kind of put ourselves out there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously looking up like a local Facebook group or something that's, as far as that goes, it has to do with what your interests are, right? So like for me, I love all of the events at Flagler Beach. I love the surfing events. The surfing competitions are so much fun. We have the Flagler board riders events. We have the Tommy Tant Invitational. With the Her Turn surf, I do want to give a shout out for the Her Turn surf event, which is really cool. A local family in Flagler Beach, the mother decided that there just wasn't any. There's no competitions nearby anywhere for females to surf in, or to highlight women in surfing and girls in surfing, and so. Um, her name's Heather Tran, and she started this event called the Her Turn Surf event. I'm actually going to be sponsoring it this
Oh
year.
wow.
One of the sponsors of it, and I'm proud and happy to do that because I just love what it does for the community for women surfing. And so, first weekend of June, mark your calendars. It's going to be the Her Turn Surf event.
Okay.
Um, Super cool event. And I think they're working on right now. Hopefully, I'm not speaking out of turn when I say this, but I think they're working on turning into a nonprofit to help
Nice.
women who have been part of like domestic violence and stuff like that, and to use surf therapy for them because surfing
Wow.
is a very healing thing. So that's a great event. We have the Tommy Tant, which is always in the fall. I believe it's usually in October. Um, and that's a great event as well. That also goes towards, I believe, like local scholarships for like local surfers and stuff like that. Yeah, great events in Flagler Beach. Good restaurant, Ohana Food Company,
Yeah.
amazing, clean food. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I've not been, but I mean they're right next to Solar Beads, which I think is so fun. It's kind
Yeah,
of
Solarby's is really good.
a
Yeah, so yeah, right. Like, do you want to eat some just really good savory food? Go to Solarby's. If you want to eat some really good healthy food, go to Ohana.
right. It's whatever
Maybe
the
do
mood
one for
is.
lunch and one for dinner, so
Yeah.
you don't feel so bad
That
about yourself. I'm not sure.
exactly.
Yeah, both are really good. And then Yes Coffee Company. I'm good friends with the owners, Mike and Rachel McDermott. Great people. But the coffee is amazing. And the vibe and the people working there are just they're top notch. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's so
Yeah.
fun. I had Mike on a little while ago and he gave the story and because he had told me the story before of how he started Yes Coffee and how he himself got into coffee and I thought it was the funniest story ever. It's the
Yeah.
sweetest story ever
It is a
too,
sweet story. Yeah.
but it's also really funny in the best way
Yeah.
possible. So yeah, those are really great places. Flagler Beach just has so much. I feel like you could take an entire week and just go different places and you still wouldn't even reach like maybe 5% of it. We just
Yeah.
have so
And I'll,
many. Mhm.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that was pretty much it.
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you about Flagler is that it's probably one of the last real Florida towns, like Florida beach towns. So like there's not many Florida beach towns left
Sure,
um that haven't succumbed to like, massive corporations coming
sure,
in and just building restaurants and hotels everywhere and just over commercializing a beach
sure.
town.
Yeah.
But Flagler is probably one of the last bastions of old Florida. So, get out there and
Savor it.
enjoy it while you can while it's still
Yeah.
there. Because I don't know how much longer we're going to have Flagler in its current state.
As
So,
like, yeah, I consider like Flagler is small town because I can go there and I know I'll get parking, and I feel like that's not guaranteed at a lot of places. So I take
yeah,
that I don't try not to take it for granted. I go anywhere else, like I go to Tampa, Clearwater, So when I'm
bad,
here, I'm
bad,
like,
bad.
parking. If it's not here, it's this other place I like. So there's always one or the other that I can always pick to. So
Yeah,
that's I make sure I keep that close to my heart.
yeah,
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a few minutes.
yeah.
It is so cool to hear your insight in how you conduct your home inspections, how you see it. It's so cool to hear how other experts see their field. That a lot of us wouldn't really think about it like that. But also, thank you so much for sharing about the surfing competition. Is it competition or just surfing?
Well,
Um,
it is a competition, but it's
okay.
more of like surfing competitions are, yeah, the competition's always like secondary, right?
Yeah,
The real point of those, I hate calling them like competitions, but they're more like invitationals.
sure.
It's a chance to get the surfing community together
Yeah.
and show how it fits into a community,
Hmm.
which is a really like surfing is huge in Flagler Beach.
Yeah.
So
Even
yeah,
the dogs
it's
do it.
yeah, that's right. There is a dog competition. What's it called? Hang Eight, or what is it? What do they call it?
Yeah,
Hang
I
Eight, or
think
something like
so.
that.
That sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
is that in this? I think that's in the late summertime, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think so. I don't
Yeah,
remember,
that's
but
another good one, though. You
yeah, a
should go
few
to that
people
one
have
too.
mentioned it. I was like,
Yeah,
dude, I'm putting it in my calendar. I'm gonna
yeah, it's
go.
really cool.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that's a cool
anything about
competition.
surfing, but if the dogs are there, then I'm there. But that's
If
super
a
cool.
dog can do it, a dog can do it. Like.
I feel like I have less balance on a board than a dog does, which is ironic because I was a figure
Well,
skater,
they got
but
four legs. It's not fair. They have four legs.
yeah, they have an unfair advantage there.
That's right.
But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So I'll have all the information that you mentioned. So she turns and the event, and then also for
Her
Mackie
turn.
or
Her
her
turn.
turn. My bad.
Yep.
I
Yep.
apologize.
Yep. No, it's
So I'll
okay.
have those links in the description so people can click on those a little bit easier. Check those out. Definitely want to make sure you guys support local, events and communities and anything that we can all come together to support a really great cause like this. And
Absolutely.
yeah, well, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And thank
you.
you, of course, and to everyone listening, thank you guys so much as well. I appreciate your time, and I will see you next time. Bye.